Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spawncast episode 342. We're waiting for Sean. He's watching the Knicks right now, which means he'll be here in a few minutes. We'll see how that worked out. He'll either be really, really angry or he'll be really, really happy and excited. So we'll find out here in about 5 minutes. But until then, still got a couple of people here to hang out, talk some video games from the past week. Let's start with MVG and a level of doom over there.
Hello. It's great to be here.
Good to have MVG here. We got OJ, Player Essence, with us.
What up? Good to be here.
Have OJ here too. And of course, Evan.
Yep.
Evan's with us. Josie is actually doing some filming for her independent film right now. So she'll be back next week. I'm sure to tell us about that again. That came up on Sean's after show one night, and she told us all about it then. So did a little crowdfunding pitch live, but she'll be back next week with us. And she's got some other stuff coming up too for the podcast. So it's gonna be pretty cool. Let's see. What do we have tonight? I do know we have the PS5 Slim situation that went down. MVG was like in the midst of that. He was like in the front lines. So I'm curious to see what MVG's take is. Did you ever make a video on that, by the way?
No, I'm just going to wait for the hardware. If I can get a hold of it, that is.
Okay.
Then I'll make a video on it.
Good. So I'll be interested to see your take on that. We have some weird things going on at Sony that's coming to light through apparently David Jaffe with some reporting there. Alan Wake 2 is out. We'll see if anyone played it yet. Nintendo faced some backlash from their tournament stuff, or their guidelines. OJ, of course, in the esports scene, so could probably explain some of that to us a bit. Metal Gear Solid Delta got a look. And I did have a question that actually brings together Metroid Prime 4 and Skull and Bones. So a lot of stuff tonight. I do want to give a shout out to the Patreon, the Spawncast network, some of the executive producers over there. John O, got Joshua Butts, Mr. Job, and Varang, who keeps changing their name. This week it's Varang Zoink Scoop Patel, and then William Hogue. Big shout out to the supporters there. We have some interesting stuff coming up. I have announced now that we are going to do the Game of the Year bracket, Game of the Year Madness, the GOTY Madness. That is going to happen. It's going to be an interesting one to see how that all turns out. Basically, 32 games will enter, and one will exit victorious. I'm more curious though to see some of the matchups, things like Dead Space and RE4 maybe meeting somewhere in the middle, things like that. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be starting in a little less than a month, probably about 3 weeks. I need things like Mario RPG, for example, to come out, RoboCop, Star Ocean. Hey, you never know. Those could surprise. So still some stuff in November to get through, and we'll do all of that. It should be a lot of fun though to close out the year. Had a new episode of Game and Talk went up, and there will be a Spawncast bonus show actually in the next day or two. So a lot of stuff happened. I think MVG is winding up a Ask a Developer here soon too. So
yep, I'm on it.
A lot of stuff to look forward to there. So let's actually start. We're just gonna start with Alan Wake 2 actually. Just get that out of the way because I already know what's about to happen here. Because I haven't played it yet. I don't know if anyone here has played it yet, unfortunately. I have a reason why I haven't played it yet, but I just want to see if anyone can surprise me. Go ahead.
I haven't played it yet, John. I am going to pick it up. I'm an Alan Wake fan, but man, my backlog is, I've got so many games I got to get through right now. So I'm on Spider-Man 2 at the moment. Once I'm through Spider-Man 2, I'll probably pick up Alan Wake 2 and check it out.
It is tough right now, MVG, because I'm thinking Alan Wake 2 right now because I'm just about done Spider-Man 2. I'm just about done with it. But next week I want to play Star Ocean RoboCop. I'm like in trouble right now. Like there's a lot of stuff hitting currently. So
yeah,
this is tough. OJ, did you get a chance to play or anything with Alan Wake 2 at all?
No, man. I mean, I probably would have picked it up if there was a physical for the game.
Physical. Yeah.
Just put it in my cart and just had it shipped out here, then probably checked it out, just because I did play the original. I'm not a huge fan of Alan Wake, but I did play the original right when it came out back in the day, and I have not played it since then. I didn't play the remaster or anything. And I liked it, but I'm not a huge Alan Wake fan. So I was just like, but it's $60, right? It's not 70.
It's cheaper. Yeah,
it got great reviews. So I probably would have just put it in my cart and had it one day shipped over here if there was a physical. But since there's a digital, I just don't feel like downloading it. I'd rather just have the game, you know. But It's whatever.
So this is where
I'll get it at some point.
Yeah. I already have it. I bought it. It's on the PS5 right now. It's over here. It's downloaded. But I'm still doing Spider-Man 2, which I'm going to talk to you, MVG, about here in a bit. Okay, I got to get the take from MVG on this, but this is where an interesting thing comes up that we're going to be introducing here pretty soon to the show, because none of us have played Alan Wake 2. But I got to admit, I am curious if people watching right now have played Alan Wake 2. So what we're going to be working to incorporate here as we go along is some more community interaction, because I do like seeing it with things like radio shows and stuff. And we're going to work out how to do some call-in stuff here and there where people can pop in for a minute or two. And in this case, maybe tell us about Alan Wake 2, especially if they're a big Alan Wake fan, and tell us if it's living up to the hype. So stay tuned for that. We have some plans in place, and I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a fun adventure.
Maybe.
I've done call-ins before. It's definitely interesting.
And we'll just do audio, so it doesn't like move around any of the boxes or too much. We'll keep it audio, and I think it'll be fun. Here and there, we'll do it as we go. It won't be like 4 or 5 people in a row. It'll be like, who played Alan Wake 2? Hop in. Let's tell us about it, and then we'll go from there. But fun. I do want to bring up that Alan Wake 2 did secure, I'm going to say, a higher score than I was expecting as well. Did anyone? Technically on PC it's a 92, on PS5 it's an 88. So if you meet in the middle, it's basically, we'll say, a 90 essentially.
I expected in high 80s or low 90s. I expected it because all the previews were glowing about the game, like graphics. Like if it's got good graphics and the gameplay's just good enough, it's probably going to get into the high 80s, like review score, right?
I feel like I predicted like an 86, so I was off by like 4 points technically by the average. But MVG already knows what I'm about to say.
Go on.
Did this change your game of the year thought with Starfield?
It's very hard for me to answer that right now, John, because I haven't played the game, and usually I need to take a look at the game before I can make a call on that. I do think one thing is very, very obvious this year. There's no indie darling this year. There's also something is going to get snubbed. There's going to be some snubs this year, right?
Yep.
So, there is an indie darling. Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Oh,
literally the people there. No, it's an indie game. They're sitting there campaigning for it to win indie game of the year.
Technically, they are an independent studio. So yeah, you could definitely say that. But I mean, there's going to be some snubs this year, John. I don't know which way it's going to go. I have to play. I mean, the reviews and everything for Alan Wake 2 look incredible. And you think that maybe it's going to find its way into the conversation. But I also think, Resident Evil 4 Remake was incredible. And there's precedent there with RE2 Remake being in. So I don't know. Like, I have to play Alan Wake 2 before I can really say, it's gonna get in. Like, just in the same way as Mario Wonder. I played Mario Wonder, I've beaten it. It's an amazing game. I think it deserves a place in the conversation. So stay tuned. I'll probably know more about Alan Wake 2 in a couple of weeks once I actually get my hands on it and beat the game.
I'm gonna try to put a couple hours in at some point this Monday, maybe. I don't know, because here comes Star Ocean this week. So I am seeing some super high praise on Twitter right now for Alan Wake 2. Like, people seem really, really happy with what they're experiencing with it. So it's going to be tough. Game of the year is going to be an interesting one. And you're right, something's getting stuff. What do you think would cause more conversation? Starfield being in the Game of the Year nominations, or Starfield being out of Game of the Year nominations?
For conversation, out.
Yeah.
Would be better than in. I think so. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Starfield seems to be the one that's like on the fringe case right now. People are like, I don't know if that's the one that keeps coming up. Is that the one getting left out?
I guess there'd be a lot of conversation either way. It's going to be a lot of what it should have been in. 5 billion people played the game. If it's not in, oh my God, how could they're biased against Xbox. They don't want to put an Xbox game in.
So the reason why I currently, and I stress the word currently, believe that Starfield is in is because I've played and beaten it twice, and I think it deserves its place in there. Metacritic score aside, right? Forget about Metacritic scores for a minute. Some games like Control have gotten in the Game of the Year with like a 82 or something.
That's true.
So I got to play Alan Wake and judge for myself, and I'll make a decision on it. But yeah, I mean, It's going to be a tough one to pick this year, man. There's a lot of good games, and there's going to be some upsets, unfortunately.
You know why Control got in, though, right?
Why'd Control get in?
Because they didn't play all the other best games. This year, they actually played a lot of the best games. That's
Control surprised me.
They didn't play Fire Emblem Three Houses. They didn't play Astral Chain. They didn't play Devil May Cry. Let's just keep it real. They didn't play Devil May Cry. They didn't play Astral Chain.
Devil May Cry didn't play Fire Emblem.
They didn't play them. The reviewers did not play them. This year, you can say, okay, they played Alan Wake. They played Baldur's Gate, they played Tears of the Kingdom. You could say all the good games they played, but really that's the reason why Control got in. Control got in because they played that one and they just skipped all the other games that were clearly better, but they skipped them. That's my personal opinion on that. And Control was nominated a million times too, by the way.
The only thing that gets me is there's a chance this year that the game that wins Game of the Year, I just have not gotten into it all with Baldur's Gate 3. Like I try and I just can't get into it. So MVG will be our lookout on that one, I guess.
I'm playing that. I'm about 20 hours in.
Oh, there you go. See, great. Yeah. Okay. Evan's our lookout too. Very quiet over there. I put 110 hours in, like real quiet.
Couple different runs, couple different characters, couple different approaches.
Evan should be like speaking. Hey, what are you doing? I'm over here spending like a month in this game. What?
It's a good one.
Evan will be the lookout on that one. Then when we get to,
I've watched hella people play the game though. Like it's cool. Like it's a really cool game.
I wish I was really into that kind of game because it does look like the pinnacle of that.
Exactly. I wish I was really into it as well. Like I really do wish I was super into it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not for everyone. I see people in chat saying that they're not into it, but yeah, it's cool how much you can do, but it's definitely very focused in a specific form of the genre.
I like all the flexibility, like in terms of like the combat. Like it's cool watching somebody else do all that shit. Not me, but somebody else. That's cool. Like
Let's see. We have. Okay, we'll talk about, because we're on the topic of games and we are waiting for Sean to come in for his Metal Gear take. MVG, tell me what your thought is on Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, so I got Spider-Man 2 a few days ago now, 2 days ago. I beat Mario Wonder. I haven't 100% the game. Some of those levels are tough, but I thought, well, I'm done with Mario Wonder, so I'm going to move on to Spider-Man 2. Picked it up. I just got, I guess, the latest patch, John. Like, so the second, they've done 2 patches now, right?
Yeah.
So I think I just got the second one. So that's when I kind of started playing the game. I'm not that far into it. I don't want to spoil it, but like just past the Coney Island part of the game at kind of at the beginning or the first third of the game. So I did that, and I got to say I really, really like the game. I think it's very, very good. The story is very, very interesting. It's keeping me compelled in the game. I love the tech that they've put into this game this time around. You know, is it the perfect sequel? I mean, it's a very, very good sequel. I don't know if it's the perfect sequel. There are some things in the game that bother me a little bit, and I think the biggest one for me is, and you tell me if I'm off base, John, but I feel like the combat system hasn't changed at all. They just copied it over here and pasted it over here. Like I just felt like the combat just doesn't really feel any different, and it doesn't seem any different to the first game. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because the combat is very good. It's very tight and very fluid. I just feel like maybe they could have just iterated upon that system a little bit and made it a little bit more 2023. But other than that, I think the story is excellent. I love the fast travel, the switching between the characters. The story is really cool. I don't even hate like some of the side missions as well. I know there's been, it's got a little bit of criticism. And the biggest one is I've had 0 bugs so far. Nothing at all.
Yeah. I really didn't experience much either.
I've seen no cubes. I've seen no weird T-posing. I haven't seen any kind of weirdness at all with the game. There's been like a cutscene where some clipping has occurred, or some minor shit in the background, or maybe some pop in. But apart from that, it's rock solid. So
I saw one example of a glitch, and someone zoomed in, I think, on their foot when they were stepping off the curb, and they went through like the corner of the curb or something. It's like that's where we are.
It seems to be such a random thing, because I've seen streamers play the game legit crash like multiple times and all sorts of issues. Then other times people play it, everything's just fine, no problems whatsoever. It's the most like helter skelter. It's like there's such different experiences for people. Some
Yeah.
everybody says it's fine. Other times I've seen it with my literally crash, glitch, or whatever. So, and I've seen streams on both, both sides where everything's clean, everything. Sometimes it's not. It's so weird.
I haven't, like I said, I haven't experienced any of that stuff yet. I've been lucky, or maybe they've just fixed it. Like I said, I when I started playing, I had the second patch, so maybe they've already addressed all that stuff anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's a good game. Like, look, part of me feels like maybe there's a little too much emphasis on quick time events, John, and maybe the game just kind of just moves you along in this direction. There's really no way you can kind of fuck it up in any way, even though it is kind of, an open city game or whatever you want to call it. It does kind of move you along very, very nicely in one direction. But other than that, I think the game is very, very good. Very good. Good sequel for sure.
It took me 21 hours to beat the game, technically, with like 70% completion. And I've just been going through and doing a lot of the end game stuff at this time. And I did enjoy the game, the story. Like, Evan, I think this is a story you would actually get a kick out of, because it does dive into like there's some comic book lore stuff in there that I was a little surprised on.
I've seen a lot of it.
Okay. Like, for example, they're like those birds in the robot birds in the open world that you like, it's part of like side quests. Like, you see them on your map, you track them, you chase behind them. And what they do is they then show you who they were tracking down. And it's usually someone like deep in like the Marvel lore that they were tracking. And I was like, that's interesting. And they do make a lot of references. And now Insomniac's already said that they are going to do a third Spider-Man game, and they did set it up. So like, that's all in place, which is fine. They've also mentioned doing a spin-off for Venom. And I kept hearing this and I thought, does everyone want Insomniac to just become the Marvel studio then? Is that where we are with them? Like, we don't want much else, just do the Marvel stuff and that's kind of it? Because I do wonder if they'll get hung up on that to where that's their identity at that point.
It seems like it, but I also, I think Insomniac's the kind of studio where you want to just kind of let their creativity run wild and let them do what they want, right? Like, I don't feel like, they should be tied up just doing, these like superhero games all the time. I think they have enough of a track record and a history, and they have enough experience in the industry where you should be able to let them make the games that they want to make as well, and not just tie them down to superhero games. But with that said, I would like a Venom game as well. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I almost wondered if Venom would, like, they do a Horizon, like how they did the Horizon Burning Shores, if they do like a $20 DLC that's somewhat sizable and it's just Venom. I thought about that too. They could maybe work that in here rather than try to do an entire, because they're gonna do Wolverine, and they already said that Wolverine is in the same universe as Spider-Man now, like in their video game universe. So they did say that in an interview. Makes me wonder if maybe in Wolverine, Spider-Man's in there. For all we know, it's possible. There's references back and forth. But to that point though, MVG, about the combat, it does continue kind of opening up as you go through the game. It's weird because I had mentioned, I think to Nate at one point when he was starting, I said, just do actually quite a bit of the main story, because they just keep giving you abilities as you go. Like that I was doing a lot of side quests and I was doing the main missions. Like, this would have helped some of those side quests a lot, like in terms of combat, because they're just like everyone knows, obviously they showed in the previews, you get the black suit, the symbiote suit. And that comes with its own set of abilities, sure. But there are some in there where you're like, okay, this is like room clearing stuff. Like, I could have used this for certain challenges. So that's kind of what I tell people is just go through some of the main story and you'll start getting pretty powerful in the game. But they give you abilities that you kind of string together with your gadgets, and it does make the combat better, but you have to become somewhat creative with it. So you're spinning your tech gadgets with your suit abilities, or Miles with his Venom strikes and that sort of thing. And I think it made the combat from the first one better, but you're right, MVG, they still lean into the Batman Arkham combat a lot. Like, that is still what they are doing here. Just more on top of that, really. But the traversal, I think, was the biggest bright spot in the entire game. And then the story, I think the story was interesting. I think there were some I would say shocking, but very surprising cameos throughout that they worked into it. And that was the most compelling part, was the story. And I will tell MG, it gets better as you go. So the ending was good. Like, everything about it, I was like, great. The story, I think for most Marvel fans or Spider-Man fans, they're going to walk away satisfied of what they went through here. I don't necessarily know everyone's going to be like, okay, now I want to go back into the world and do every single side quest, find every little like landmark or things that they have on the map. But I think from point A to point B in the story, they'll get a kick out of it. So yeah, I recommend, obviously for Spider-Man fans, pick up a PS5, pick this game up. It's good. So, and I would have no problem if it, which I assume it will, finds its way into Game of the Year conversation.
Oh yeah, it'll be in there.
No problem with any of that.
Yep.
Sean is here.
Sort of.
Kinda
Hello.
There he is.
There he is. Sean is here. Okay, good. Okay. I'm not going to ask you about the Knicks game, Sean, so I'm not going to roll the dice on this one. But thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it didn't go well.
Okay.
I'm working on something, but I'll get on camera
Okay.
when I'm done.
Okay. Somebody said that you posted a GIF of Homer pouring bleach into his eyes, so I assumed then that meant it.
Yeah, it was not an enjoyable game.
The Bulls game was worse.
They came off a win last night though, right, Sean? So it's not like they lost.
I mean, it's still early in the season. I'm not gonna
back-to-back days though, man. Tired legs, right?
I'm not gonna get too bent out of shape yet.
Well, yet.
Yeah, y'all didn't lose to the Detroit Pistons though, because Bulls got blasted by the Detroit Pistons.
Oh well,
blasted. Stupid Twitter account. Hey, Zach LaVine scored 50 points. They lost by like 16 points. Good for you, dude. Should have scored 60 something points. They would have won.
I'm not a huge fan of him.
I'm not a huge fan of the Bulls. I'm not a huge fan of their.
Your hat says otherwise.
I'm not a huge fan of their team.
They had that nice win against Toronto.
Yeah, whatever. They need to blow this team up. Start over.
No, you're
Sean,
not wrong.
did you pick up Spider-Man 2, Sean? Yet?
I haven't had a chance to yet. No. I'll
Okay.
probably buy it tomorrow because it's supposed to be cold and rainy.
There you go.
Need something to do.
It's a good game to hang out and play then. Good stuff. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Do you want to give us your thoughts on the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, Sean? Because I know you picked that up.
Yeah, sure. So as a Metal Gear diehard, I'm obviously going to have some sort of bias to it, and I try to make that abundantly clear in my video. But is this a Konami is back moment? No, because it feels very bare minimum. You know, they're still great games, especially 2 and 3, and I love 1, but after playing 1 on an emulator, you know, even if you're not using DuckStation, even if you're just using a basic ass emulator that can make things look a little bit cleaner, to see Metal Gear Solid 1 and see that they didn't even give you like a texture filter option or something like it's rough, dude. It's rough going back to that original style. And I know there's probably going to be people like, I play it on a CRT. It's great. I'm glad you can enjoy that. I cannot, because I've been introduced to the world of emulation, and as the emulation king, I know what you can do with those graphics. So Metal Gear Solid 1, kind of a wash. 2 and 3, like, I know there's an issue with 2 when you're out in the rain on the tanker, but like I didn't mention it because you're there for like 15-20 seconds. Like it wasn't really a main issue for me. Surprisingly, I've been having a decent time playing it. I was worried about the 60 to 30 drop. I really don't think it's like super noticeable. Granted, I've been playing mostly in handheld mode, so take that into account. But you know, it still feels very good. It's still a really good game. It looks very nice on the OLED screen as well when you're playing it in handheld mode. And 3 is still, you know, one of my favorite video games of all time. Like I said in my video, I do feel the image is a bit on the soft side. It's obviously both of those games are widescreen, so they are the HD versions, but the image just looks a little soft, especially when you look at how Metal Gear Solid 2 looks compared to 3. And I'm obviously talking about the Switch version of these games. 3 definitely looks noticeably softer, and that kind of was a little bit strange to me. You know, the 30 frames on 3, I really don't care. That game didn't even hit 30 frames half the time playing it on the PS2, so not a huge thing for me. The other games, the MSX stuff, it's cool if you're a diehard for the story because those are canon. Metal Gear 2 is still a really fun game once you kind of get into the groove of it. Metal Gear and Snake's Revenge on the NES are throwaway games. they're really not that good. And then you have like the bonus stuff with the and for like 2 and 3, they are like the versions that have the additional content like substance and subsistence. So you get like you get like Snake's Tales on Metal Gear Solid 2 and stuff like that. So whatever, that's kind of cool because it's additional stuff. But as far as like the bonus content is concerned, like once again, it feels kind of half-assed. Like the book thing is really cool that goes over like the whole history of Metal Gear. You can also get the full like a screenplay dialogue of all the conversations in the game. That's kind of neat, I guess. But like the soundtrack, the bonus soundtrack, there's 20 songs. There's only 20 songs. You're spanning 7 games here. Even if you want to take out the NES crap, you're spanning 5 games. They don't even have the cool song from Metal Gear 2 that I always used to play when I would play online with Subsistence on Metal Gear Solid 3, where it was like that was the only song I would play, and it would just always got me so hype. It's from Metal Gear 2. I forget the name of it, but yeah, there's only 20 songs in there and stuff, and it's just like, like it could have been a proper celebration, but I don't really feel like it is. As a Metal Gear fan, there is a silver lining. At least people are getting introduced to the games, and they're still really fun games to play if you can get past the visual style of just how one looks. But beyond that, it's like half-assed fan service. They could have done a lot more. They could have put some more time and care into it and really been like, hey, we're back. Like, look at the fucking Castlevania shit. Like, of course, that wasn't handled by Konami. That was .emu?
M2?
Yeah, but who did like didn't .emu do like the bonus stuff in those games?
Maybe. Yeah.
So like,
right.
There's so much cool bonus stuff in there, like sketches and behind the scenes stuff, and it's like they didn't do any of that with this, and so it just I don't know. They're still fun games, but it's just if you're morbidly interested, like I would probably just buy either 2 or 3 for $20, and then when you're done with that, if you got an extra $20, buy the one that you didn't buy, because the $60 thing, I don't really think it's necessarily getting you a bang for your buck, because I feel like most people are just going to skip over Metal Gear 1.
Yeah, well, especially on like Switch, because it's mostly digital, right? You get 2 or 3 gigabytes on the cartridge, and then everything else you download.
Yeah, all the retro stuff is on the cartridge. So the MSX games and the NES games are on the cartridge. But yeah,
Sean, is your biggest kind of beef with number 1 just the fact that it's got bilinear filtering? It looks all blurry. If they had a toggle where they could sharpen up the pixels to make it look more authentic.
Like every freaking emulated retro game that's come out on modern platforms. Like, I understand you want to preserve the original image quality, fine by me, but give me an option. It's 2023. Give me an option. I'm not playing this on a CRT. I'm playing this on an OLED, whether it's in my hand or on my television, and it doesn't look great.
Yeah, 2 is not a bad recommendation. I feel like 3 is interesting because it introduced like the survival aspect to it,
which I love.
But like 2 might be you're right, 2 might be a good starting point to give you the definitive, like the Metal Gear Solid kind of experience, whereas 3 brought in like I said, the survival stuff to the Metal Gear Solid experience. But yeah, I think 3 is very, very good, obviously.
And just like fuck the law and download DuckStation and download Metal Gear Solid 1 and turn up that internal resolution up to 4K. Like, you can run it on a potato and then it looks so much better, and you're like, wow, I can actually play this. I can see what's going on here. It looks so murky, man.
Let's get real for a second here then, because some data mining happened, and they found Metal Gear Solid 4 in there now.
Well, I mean, if you look through the book in the game, it talks about all of them. It talks about Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid 4, all of that stuff. So, is that going to be a collection that happens?
Volume
potentially
2.
But I mean, obviously, if they're doing a volume 1, you would assume they would do a volume 2, but I don't see it coming like necessarily anytime soon. And then hopefully there's a new Nintendo system out there, so that if you buy the Nintendo version, it's not the It's not the gimped version of the game, you know.
How do they do? How do you think they do that, MVG, and get Metal Gear Solid 4 there?
Well, they can't emulate the PS3 because that just doesn't make sense. I mean, I think the only way that they could potentially do it is if they were able to recover the source code and they've managed to find a way to build it for modern, target modern consoles. Which, hey, if they got the source code, it's kind of reminds you of like the Red Dead Redemption, port to the Switch and PlayStation, right? I think if you have the source code, then you have a lot more options as far as bringing a game that's locked on the PS3 forward. But that's a big if they have the code. If they don't have the code, then I couldn't tell you how they're going to do this. Like, there's no way they're building an emulator. There's no way you can. I mean, you know what type of PC you need to run MGS4 on PCS3. You need a pretty beefy machine to run. So I think unless they have the code, or they're just hopefully. They have all that right now, and they're basically in a situation where they've got the game up and running. It's hard for me to imagine that they could emulate a PlayStation 3 to get the game up and running.
You know what's interesting is, remember there was that talk about how there was a 360 version that existed. They just didn't come to market with it. What if they still had that like in the back somewhere, and they're like, yeah, maybe we can wheel this thing out. Maybe.
You'd be surprised. I mean, based on my experience, things like that get uncovered occasionally. So maybe they do have access to a 360 build that can form as the basis for this modern update. But I'm to be honest, John, I'm still a little skeptical about MGS4 because, man, it's just been locked on the PS3 for so many years. It's hard for me to even imagine that it would ever come to any other system ever. But I am hopeful that there is a lot of smoke here with this, so hopefully we get it. I'd like to see.
That'd be a big deal. That'd be a big deal if it got announced. Yeah, I'd be curious if what they would follow the collection with. Would it be that 5 and I don't know, Peace Walker, and that's it? There's Volume 2.
No, I don't think you do.
Ghost Babel? You got to Ghost Babel.
Yeah, I think you do. You do Ghost Babel. If you really want to stretch it out, you could do Ghost Babel, Portable Ops. 4 and
Survive.
then if you wanted to do 5, it depends. If you wanted to do 5 in its own separate thing, you can include like Peace Walker and Acid Games.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot they can pull from if they want to set this up and make it like a nice collection. And then 2 years after that, they sell the complete edition, and it's all of them together for like $100 some odd.
Right.
I'd buy it.
If it looked cool, yeah, I would too.
If they fixed all the issues and it ran, 60 everywhere, I'd probably get the complete edition.
Yeah, especially if it came in like the cool box set and it had like the slipcover. Yeah, I'd be all over that. That'd be cool.
It's kind of weird that they didn't do any like that. I understand they did the digital thing, but why not? Go all out, make a version that has like a statue and some other bullshit that collectors would want. I might
Metal Gear fans, you feel like would be all over that.
Yeah, because we've been fucked for so long. No lube.
Nothing about Konami screams all out right now. Like I think it's more about let's dip our toe into the swimming pool again and see how it all feels. And okay, well that was fine. Now let's do the next part of the body and get that in the water. I think that's just how it's going to be for a while, with them.
Well, speaking of that, MVG, Konami did have another reveal this week. This was during the Xbox partner preview. I pulled Metal Gear out of there because some of the other stuff, but this was a big one. I think it surprised a lot of people that it was there too, because I wasn't expecting it to make an appearance, but they did an in-engine preview of Metal Gear Solid Delta, and it looks good. Like, it looks better than I was expecting. I mean, obviously they're trying to remake an incredible game. It's gonna be tough, but
I saw a lot of
visually
people,
speaking, I thought it looked good.
Rerez fucking hated it.
Really?
I didn't really understand his take on it.
He was like, compare it to the original Metal Gear Solid 3 trailer. This is bullshit. And I was like, I wanted to be like, bro, it's kind of a different time. It's not like it's a new game. Like, I'm assuming that this is just the same game with prettier graphics.
It is the same audio, right?
Yeah, it's using the same audio and stuff. So like, it's just going to be the same game with prettier graphics. I think the graphics look substantially better, obviously. I don't know, I'm excited for it. I question when it's coming out. Yep. And I kind of question, like, you figure if it's like 6 months to a year, like how well will it really sell? Because you have 3 now on modern consoles with an HD version of it. Granted, this obviously is far superior graphically, but if it's the same exact game and I could buy 3 HD for $20, like, are you bringing back the online in it? Because I don't think you are. Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird to think about, because it's going to be a $60 or $70 game. Like,
yeah, this thing's going to be 70. I bet, absolutely. Yeah, the thing with this though, and the part that I noticed, and I was like, okay, yeah, like the animations looked a bit stiff. Some of the characters looked a little bit lifeless walking around, but at the bottom it says like pre-alpha footage or something. And you go, okay, well, they're just showing us a very early visual, like an early concept in-engine demo. Basically just wanted to show us the benchmark running on their PC at their office, right, is the idea. And then Unreal Engine 5. I have concerns about Unreal Engine 5 because every game except for Fortnite I think I've experienced on the Xbox or the PlayStation, not been the greatest. Like Immortals of Avium, not good. So that's my only concern, is that. But I think, Sean, I think you're right. I feel like this is 2025 all over it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's coming out next year. I think it needs more time. Like, I agree with Sean. I mean, I feel like, a lot of it looked really good, but I also felt like, wow, I think we have a long way to go before this game actually comes out. Because, I mean, if you're showing stuff like this, kind of in-engine tech demo type stuff, it just kind of tells me that, well, maybe they're still, trying to get the actual story mechanics into the game. But look, UE5, John, yeah, look, right now it doesn't have a great track record. It's simply because it's still very new technology. Developers are still getting their heads around the tech. Epic is iterating upon it very fast. I think they're up to UE 5.3 now. Like it's moving fast. Okay. Like every few months they add a point release to it. So I think that's going to get better over time. So I think developers do want to use UE more and more now. It is going to be, well, it already is the industry standard. Other outside of Unity, which has its own issues. But look, I think what I saw of this tech demo, whatever you want to call it, teaser, looked really good. It looked very promising, and I want to see more of the game. Is it perfect? No, I think there's definitely some areas where it could improve, but I also, you want to like encourage studios to show pre-alpha footage, knowing that maybe it's not in the best state. I think about, like, this is a terrible comparison, but something like, Arceus. Remember when they first showed us Arceus Pokemon? That just didn't look very good at all, right? But as they kind of kept showing it, it looked better and better and better. So hopefully we'll start to see, this game get, or MGS Delta get fleshed out more and look better over time. But I'm excited about it.
This is a game they really can't feel pressure to release, because you cannot mess up Metal Gear Solid 3. If you do, that might be the worst thing Konami's ever done right there. Not even put Snake and Pachinko mess up Metal Gear Solid 3. That's the worst thing.
I mean, they did Metal Gear Survive, John.
Yeah, but people can kind of forget. They're like, whatever, throw it on the show, who cares? But now it's like they ruined Metal Gear Solid 3. That's the one thing we had to hold on to. So I hope they just take their time with it. It comes out when it's actually ready, not like, let's push it out now, let's get it out there. So that's my hope. But I'm optimistic with what I've seen so far based on my expectations for Konami. So there you go. I did want to bring this up just to see what people think and get a tally on this one. Skull and Bones got delayed again. It's supposed to have been out now. Like, we're supposed to be playing it multiple times over, but it's coming out, according to Ubisoft, again, according to it, it's still tentative, by the end of March 2024.
Cancel it.
Just cancel the game. Look, Ubisoft, you make good Assassin's Creed games. Keep doing those. Make Splinter Cell. Make Ghost Recon. Make Watch Dogs every 5 years if you want to. Far Cry and Rainbow Six. That's all you need to do. And Rayman as well.
So here's my favorite part about this, that they're basically, I don't want to say they're not allowed to cancel it, but apparently there some problems would arise if they canceled because of Singapore.
They took a ton of money for it.
So the reason this thing's still coming out is because apparently it was a deal worth upwards of $120 million as reported by Kotaku. So I don't really know why Singapore was involved with. I'm not sure. But apparently that's why they've strung this along. This was announced in 2017, same year as Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
So
quarter 4, 2018 was the original release date. So
yeah. So the question is, what game comes out first, Metroid Prime 4 or Skull and Bones?
Metroid Prime 4.
Oh wow. Okay. Interesting. All right. Metroid Prime. Cause I think Prime 4 is out in 2024 later, but maybe it will beat Skull and Bones could just be delayed for another 2 years at this point. They already got the money. They just got to get the game done and out. There must be some kind of sales goal they have to hit, because otherwise you feel like they would just push it out the door and be like, whatever, we delivered.
It's not going to hit any sort of sales goal.
I think they know that.
Going to bomb.
Can I ask a dumb question? Is Skull and Bones like Sea of Thieves? Is that what we're talking about here?
It's more like you control the whole ship by yourself.
So they basically they took the ship combat from Black Flag and they kind of
wrapped it
that was the concept.
Happened.
You can go to islands and like walk around and shop for stuff, but then you get to your ship and it's you controlling everyone.
Yeah, but you can't. There's no fighting on land or anything like that, right?
No, you get like special abilities, different types of ship, different stats, and then they hinted at the end of one of the first trailers that you can fight like the Kraken and giant sea monsters and stuff.
Evan, is this a game that interests you at all?
No.
Then cancel it.
I'm excited for this game to come out someday just to see what happens with it, but I'm kind of agree with you guys. I think Prime 4 is out first, just because I think this thing gets delayed again. They delayed another game. They didn't name it, but the word is it's probably Star Wars Outlaws. That's most likely holiday 2024 now.
Don't care.
So, no, the game looks good. It looks good so far. We'll see. We'll see. Skull and Bones coming up though, March 2024 at the latest. Mm-hmm. Everyone's excited. Oh boy. The PS5 Slim. There's some controversy here. MVG was in the middle of it too on Twitter with this one.
A piece of shit.
MVG always riling things up. People just trying to get a PS5 Slim, but apparently, if you get the digital version and then you go out and get the disc drive later, you have to activate the disc drive through the internet with a connection for the setup process.
But John, it's only a one-time activation.
Oh, man. Okay, hold on.
Matter.
Hold on. Let me play devil's advocate here.
Uh-huh.
Don't you need an internet connection just to play the digital edition?
Maybe.
Well, yeah.
So what's the big deal? If you only have to do it, like, I can understand, like, you know, there could be linking issues and stuff like that. Okay, I'm not taking that into account. All I'm taking into account is that I need to connect it to the internet one time to register it. I don't see why that's a big deal when I have to be online just to play the fucking thing anyway.
We are at a point where a lot of discs call to a server to download anyway, so.
Right. So, like, I don't see why, you know, is this a preservation thing? Because the Preservation Society will figure that out, just like they've been doing a great job preserving all of these other games that you, and like magazines and crap, so you have access to them. But I don't really understand, like, why that's such a big deal.
I think the reason why it does need a connection is to somehow, personalize. I don't know what the right word is, but basically tie the drive to your console.
The drive to it.
So you can't just take it and then take it to someone else's house and use it there, type of thing. It wouldn't work that way, which I get, right? Because I think their biggest concern maybe is there is a way for people to maybe rip discs at this point, because you can. I talked about this like last week or the week before. You can put some type of bus sniffer in between them, and maybe stream all the data off of it and rip the discs or something. So I think there's just a level of security they're adding there for that. So it's not really a big surprise that this has happened. I just feel like it's interesting that it does require a connection when it's really just a disk drive, right? It should be just a disk drive where you can just stick a disc in and just play off of it or install the game. It shouldn't really require any type of connection.
Here's why I think it's the whole thing's interesting, and you could make a case that it's a big deal, because I feel like we've become very desensitized to DRM in general at this time. 10 years ago, Don Matrick got thrown off stage because he wanted you to check in when you got your Xbox online. Said, you know what, you get this Xbox One, you're online. That's the way it is. And if you don't like it, you get the 360. And that's just it. And I feel like ever since then, it's been a steady decline into just accepting the DRM, the digital side of things, always being connected, basically getting to the point where you're almost renting your system from these companies and they just control it. And I think that's the kind of the thing, is we keep stepping further and further. And it just sounded weird when they go, hey, you bought this Blu-ray drive, but you have to check in with us before you can use it after you made the purchase. And it just seems weird. I think that's one of the things that's coming up, is that slippery slope where one day you always are connected to the internet. There is no offline mode for a system when you buy it.
No. I mean, we talked about this before. I mean, there's rumors that the next Xbox or the mid-gen refresh will be all digital. Sony is definitely heading in that direction, as we've seen. Nintendo will probably go another generation, maybe two, potentially, before they go all digital. We'll have to see what the future holds for the Switch 2, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. We're all heading that way. I'll be long retired by then, John. I won't care.
Could be long dead by then.
I mean, I might be. I could be dead. But I'll be playing my emulation box.
Emulation box. Is that checking into the server too? Windows got to make sure everything's cool.
No, I gotta watch. I'll watch Sean videos.
We can collab.
Yeah,
on your channel. Yeah. I need the rub, buddy. I need the rub.
That's what I can think of, Sean, is that's the issue, is it just slowly creeps into that control, that DRM on the publisher side.
I mean, I guess my thing of it is like my OLED Switch is the Switch that I play the most, and I never figured out how to transfer it to be my main. So every time I go to play a game, it needs to check for the server. So like if I'm at my grandma's house or something, I just connect it to my phone so that it can check the server. And it's like, thank you, I can go play my game now.
All you got to do is just go to the eShop and then go to the settings, and it's right there.
No, you have to have the original Switch to do it. That's the thing. And I don't know where that system is.
No, you can alter the control to, I don't remember when I did mine, because I switched mine to my OLED. I don't remember having to connect to like the other switch
to make it primary switch.
Yeah, like make it your primary.
Yeah,
no,
primary switch.
I'm pretty sure you do, because I think I looked into it one day because I was like, fuck this. I don't feel like doing it. And it was like the steps that I saw online said that I had to go have my original Switch and then transfer or some shit like that. It was
to change the primary console for your Nintendo account, you will need to deregister your current primary console, then set the new primary console.
There we go.
Can you do that on the website though?
Yeah, you can. I think what you would need to do is that you would need to have the account that was the primary account. If you have the primary account, it should.
Hey, what do you mean the primary account's the same account?
Okay, it says different. Like I'm looking at it right now, and it says different. A different console is registered as your primary. So yeah, you would need to deregister that console.
So I remember this. I remember this actually with it was a different Nintendo. I'm trying to remember which system it was. We had to do this at the store one time where we called Nintendo and they were all mad, but they figured it out. So you have to probably call Nintendo customer service, Sean, and be like,
"No, I'll
"Can you
just
help me out?"
I'll just do it this way."
I'm just saying. I think that's what
DRM and
see?
DRM and that digital future is not even working.
That's annoying though. I had to switch mine because I kept on doing that, and I'm just like, this is annoying as hell. So I actually looked up how to do that, and like once I did, I was like, okay, this is so much better because I don't have to worry about being connected to the internet just to play like a freaking game, like a small little game, like Vampire Survivors or something like that when I'm out. You know.
Some people are saying that you don't have to call them, Sean, in the chat. So
some people say you do. Some people say you don't. Some people say you
call them and give them your social security number, your last four.
It doesn't really bother me all that much because, like I said, I just tether my phone and then I let it check in there. But I was just saying, like, I'm used to it with that system because I've had it, ever since it came out.
Hey, Don Matrick, head of his time, visionary. He
was the man.
Can you imagine if Xbox is like, we're selling you the disk drive separately back then, and you have to check in with us when you get it online. Although you did have to connect to the internet to set up your system for the first time, and so many people were coming in to a store doing it. Eventually, we were just like, I think eventually one of the guys running the stores at the time was like, looked at the person that came in because they kept doing it. There's like $20. I'm getting tired of this. And the person paid him. I was like, what? So it's it got to the Xbox activation service almost because so many people came in using the internet at the store to do it. It's like,
people like convenience. People don't want to mess around with setting shit up. They just want to play. So
exactly. And that's why Sean telling people to go emulate stuff for the Metal Gear collection just falls on deaf ears for so many people. They don't want to do it. It's easy. Just drop it in.
I mean, no, but the PS3 emulation's super easy nowadays, and that you get the HD collection. You got a ROG Ally. Hey, did you see the Legion Go is gonna have like their own dedicated discounts for games?
Yeah, it's interesting. We're starting to get to like their own little stores that'll come with these handhelds soon.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. That could have been a topic you drug out for 20 minutes, but go fuck yourself.
Does that? Well, no. Here's the question: if they're doing that, and we're getting to a point where some of these different handhelds are going to have their own stores, does Microsoft need to make the move and create the Series H, the handheld?
Oh.
Well, but they can't be on if these handhelds are going to be using their own storefronts and funneling people there instead of Game Pass or the Xbox storefront. Microsoft might need to make the move.
Oh, they just keep buying companies and then just sell the games on all the storefronts.
Who makes the hand? Asus? All right, get Asus in here. You're ours now. We own this place.
Didn't they partner with Razer or something on some handheld or something?
Microsoft, they're trying to get in with a lot of these PC handhelds, just in general, just like putting the Xbox logo on it and stuff. They did a lot. I remember Logitech, the G Cloud was one that they partnered with, and that was just
what I was thinking of.
Having the app on it by default. Yeah, but Microsoft might just need, I mean, who knows, in 15 years, they were talking about going ARM based. We might just have nothing but hybrid systems with how these chips are advancing right now. Everyone might have a hybrid system by then. Who knows? So let me go over to the super chats here. Spyro says, remember, for Game of the Year, it depends on what Jeff thinks. Well, to be fair to Jeff, apparently he doesn't have a say in anything that's nominated. That's what he says. Dominion says, with so many platforms to play video games, it's a shame that the momentum for crossplay and cross-save came to a screeching halt. As gamers who have several platforms, what's your thoughts on this? Yeah, it's still a toss-up. Cross-save, I think, would be awesome.
I don't understand cross-save. I know MVG's talked about it, but that's the one that kind of gets me a bit, is the cross-save situation. Like, I would like that to be better. That it's been terrible. It's not been good.
Yeah, the Xbox Play Anywhere is really nice for that right now. Like going from the ROG Ally to PC and back, or ROG Ally to PC to Xbox. Like I see the vision there, right? So if these third-party companies just incorporate a cross-save like CD Pro, or so with Witcher 3 on the Switch, you can do that. You can go between your Switch and your PC. I know that. So if we just have more companies do that, I think it's just the convenience is incredible then. So that's what I'd like to see. Crossplay, Yeah, I mean, I know. I see people turn off crossplay a lot actually online.
Yeah, crossplay. It's good for like small communities. Absolutely, crossplay is like a must, right? If you're playing like Guilty Gear, something like that, then like you want crossplay because it's not as many people are gonna buy that game. But
I don't want no goddamn crossplay with my fucking first person shooters. I'm not playing with no PC motherfuckers. Close the borders.
What? Yeah, I mean,
the borders of crossplay.
It's fine. I'm also sad when I see console symbols when I'm booting up Battlefield in my team.
Fuck off! I don't want to play with you.
Against the hacking people.
They're all fucking hackers.
Loading up cheat engine, whatever it's called.
Cheat engines.cc.
This guy thinks being able to spin 180 faster than a console controller can is a hack. It's fine.
It is.
Got those wall
To be fair, the PC gamers don't necessarily want to play with the Xbox gamers and Halo. Because the controller is like overpowered.
Snap 2 is ridiculous. That's actually a thing as well in Apex Legends. I think most pro teams require it, or most of them say you want one console controller player because it's just too good in close combat because of the snap targeting.
Yeah, I mean, just turn the crossplay. That's what I do. I just I don't play online as much, but if I am turning that crossplay off, when it comes to certain things.
Chris says, "Rip Matthew Perry." Yeah, I just saw this as I saw in the chat. Apparently, Matthew Perry passed away in an apparent drowning, and this was reported like an hour ago.
Yep.
Very sad. Very sad.
That's quite sad. He's 54 years old.
Jeez.
That's not old, so it's very unfortunate. But there might be some more stuff, so brace yourselves, guys.
Yeah, it's still very early reporting with an apparent drowning, but yeah, that is quite sad. Quite sad. Joel says, thoughts on Howard side mission on Spider-Man 2?
Don't spoil it. I haven't played it yet.
I'm not going to spoil it then. MVG is. I wouldn't do it anyway. That's a mission. Okay, so when you open up your map, you'll see it. I'll just say that. They have like the blue Spider-Man symbols all the way around. Those are the side missions. Look for the. I'm just going to say look for the one that says Howard and go do it. Do you remember the pigeon stuff from the first game?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So I recommend going to do that. It's one of the better side missions. It's one that people definitely are going to remember. So
I'll check it out.
I recommend it. Yes, I do not want to spoil that for anyone because it is a mission everyone should experience on their own.
Shut up. If MVG didn't say don't spoil it, you'd be like, well, here's what happens.
No, when MVG plays it, he's gonna know. He's gonna be like, okay, I get why John didn't say anything about this. It's one people should experience for themselves. You too, Sean. When you get the game, it'll be there. It's one of the earlier side missions.
That one, just to spite you.
Missing out. JT Bell says, thanks for the content. Thank you, JT. Trevor says, Nintendo's released 20 plus Mario Universe games on Switch if you count all of the spin-offs, with still a handful of Mario Universe games to come that we know of in the next 12 months or so. 20 plus Mario Universe Switch. Count it. Yeah, Nintendo does like Mario.
I mean,
they do. I didn't notice.
It's been around.
Yeah,
a while.
they release a lot of Mario stuff.
I think didn't they have like a theme park based off of that too? I mean, that's crazy.
Seems to work for him though. So that's I'd say Mario is paying the bills. So.
Wasn't there a movie that was pretty big about that?
Yeah. Blue Knight says, as someone who's stuck with N64 and GameCube during that time, I'm just glad to get Metal Gear something.
Yeah.
Yeah. GameCube, you got Twin Snakes.
You got Twin Snakes.
I mean, was there Metal Gear on the N64? What was the Metal Gear game?
Yeah, it's called Winback.
Yeah.
Gosh.
That's like you're about to go to like a really nice restaurant and like you veer off and you go to like Denny's or something like that.
What's wrong with a Grand Slam?
Yeah, this guy's underestimating Denny's.
Really nice. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what, let's just go to Denny's instead.
I'm a fan of Denny's.
What the fuck is up, Denny's?
Yeah.
Ocelot says it's illegal for Sony not to do that, by the way.
People have been saying that, but I'm not so sure about that.
He's talking about the connect to the online thing.
The DMCA thing.
I'm not sure about that one either, because usually you use DMCA rules or laws to enforce certain things. And by the way, Sony loves to use DMCA stuff themselves to go after quote unquote pirates. They've been doing it for a long time, since I think 98 is like when that came into law. And if you search, there's a whole website that's dedicated to just pointing out the companies who abuse DMCA stuff. Do the Control F for fine Sony 73 times is in there.
Well, that's
and by
because
the
you could hack the PS1 back in the day.
that's in there. You're right.
Because
That is in
Pecker
there.
Dupree had one. His
Oh.
brother-in-law in Georgia knew how to hack systems, so he hacked his, and then we would just like burn games onto a disc.
Bleemcast.
Bleemcast was different. Bleemcast was to play Tekken 3, Gran Turismo 2, and Metal Gear Solid on the Dreamcast. It's fucking awesome too. That's how I played all of Gran Turismo 2, was on the Dreamcast via Bleemcast.
Yeah, Sony didn't like that either.
Yeah, they're fucking stupid.
But yeah, the thing that's funny about that is people keep citing that when Sony was like one of the main companies that lobbied for it in the first place. So it's like, what are we supposed to do? Every 3 or 4 years it comes up again, but you can't change laws. What are we gonna? Can't do anything about it. Oh well. So we'll have to abide by the laws that we set or helped lobby for 20 some odd years ago. So Bat says, do you guys think Rayman will come back?
Yes.
Yes.
Rayman was in the new show.
I'm saying yes just to will it into existence.
We need an M-rated Rayman.
Rayman's
A
coming back.
violent Rayman.
Hey, did you see the
Rayman's
show?
coming
Did you
back.
see the new show? He must have been listening to Sean or something.
What are you talking about? What new? There's a Rayman show?
You didn't see? Oh, okay, interesting. Sean has not seen it. Okay, it's on Netflix.
I didn't know there was a Rayman show.
It's the
Is it
the
called Everybody Loves
Ubisoft
Rayman?
Adi Shankar
Power Hour?
anime
Like what?
cartoon, whatever. And they use a lot of Ubisoft intellectual properties and characters. So like Beyond Good and Evil's in there, for example. One of them is Rayman, and Rayman is like a drug addicted crime lord or something.
Just hold someone's head under the water, let the bubbles all stop. Like,
It's ridiculous.
gloved
But
hands.
I saw this and I'm like, we do need a mature rated Rayman game. They're right. It is
It's not
very interesting.
2003 anymore, John. I don't need Shadow the Hedgehog and true crime streets of New York.
We don't need we don't need Rayman holding like a gun, like a mafia member or something like that. Like Gats. Why not?
You want Ubisoft to go out of business faster with between Skull and Bones and that? You're on a fast track.
I
my
think you'll
boy.
have a new appreciation for Rayman after you watch it.
I have an appreciation for Rayman, and I don't want to ruin it with this tomfoolery.
I think we need I'd appreciate them more if they make a new game.
I'll see if I can find there's like images and stuff
it's
of some
fine.
of the scenes.
They'll
It's
put
pretty
them in
funny.
Skull and Bones. It'll be great.
X era says, guys about brand bias. Iwata cut his own pay, and his heart is a gamer. Golf Easter egg. Sorry, but Nintendo has heart. Sean, you emulate it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Mr. Davis? Is that a Mr.
No,
Davis?
X era 404.
Oh, I know him. Well, did you mess it up, or is he?
Yeah, like
drunk?
that was.
No, that's how I read it. Guys, comma, about brand bias, comma, Iwata cut his own pay, comma, in his heart, he was a gamer, comma, golf, Eater egg. I think it's supposed to be Easter egg, but they said Eater egg, so I'm reading it literally.
Okay, the
Period.
golf Easter egg, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but, period. Nintendo has heart, Sean, exclamation point. All caps for Sean. You emulate, though, using the letter U instead of YOU. No punctuation.
I emulate because a lot of these games are not available to play on the current platform, and I can't buy them right now and give Nintendo money. I can't buy a GameCube game and give Nintendo money. It would be going to a third-party seller. So Nintendo sees none of that profit anyways. Now, if they change that, then sure, you would have some sort of a case, but
This is from John Rathburn, who says, RGC85, that handheld wood grain emulation handheld, did it run PS2 and GameCube smoothly? Was thinking of getting it for Christmas.
So Twilight Princess I played and it ran pretty much perfect. Wind Waker was almost perfect. PS2 Kingdom Hearts was really good. I tried God of War 2 after the fact, and that was kind of jank. So it kind of is your mileage is going to vary. But what ends up happening with these systems is people end up making. I wanted to add some more PS2 games, but for whatever fucking reason, is this the one? No, I took out the the micro SD card and I put it in a micro SD card reader, and it won't bring up the fucking files on my computer, and it's been driving me nuts.
It's probably running Linux. That's why.
Yeah, but how am I supposed to add games to it then?
I don't know. Are you supposed to be able to, or like is it advertised that you can add games to it?
No, but I mean, it's just ROMs and emulators on the system.
Yeah, but formatting is always
it's
big.
running Linux. It's running a different file system. That's why. There's probably a way to mount it, like with a tool or an app or something, but your standard Windows tools probably won't see the drive.
Okay, so if I can't add games to it, then I would get something else. If I can add games to it, then I would. So I'm going to have to get back with you on that. I'll have to do some research.
Okay. Let me go over to. I put the screenshots from the Netflix show in the chat.
I'm not. Let's see.
Okay, got that. Let's do the Sony.
It was a horse.
You do the
There's
tournament guidelines for Nintendo.
Adam 23's or 22's girlfriend getting plowed.
Adam 23.
What is this? What is this?
These are screenshots from the show with
I'm not watching.
Rayman going on like a binge.
I'm not watching this goddamn show. Oh, you're out of your mind.
Let's talk about Sony, because I feel like everyone's kind of been mentioning Sony in some regard when it comes to either PlayStation Plus, prices going up, 2024 outlook. There's been a lot of stuff happening right now, and then we're hearing about things behind the scenes. Jim Ryan is retiring starting next year, and now there was this report that's come out that Sony has actually confirmed themselves in a statement to Axios, which Axios apparently had to ask for the statement. Like, Sony wasn't necessarily just going to put it out there, but Connie Booth is out at Sony, and this came back, and this comes back to David Jaffe, who had reported on it earlier in the week, I think on like Monday, and he then came back and said that she was fired, not necessarily like you think, okay, she's been there for 34 years, since before Sony had PlayStation, or like had a PlayStation system, and you figure she might want to retire. Apparently there was something else that was going on, and she was basically just ousted. She's out. Which is interesting, because there was also stuff about Herman Holst talked about in there. Although I think the person that had conveyed this information to Jaffe wasn't a fan of Herman Holst. So I feel like there might have been kind of a slant in that direction, because he said that he was in favor of shutting down the Japan studio stuff and was not the biggest fan of him, I'll say. But the other part is that they're not happy with developers that this person has relation to, was not happy with games and service direction. And we heard about that with Jason Schreier as well in his report. So that's not the first time, but these are some wild stuff. Sean Layden was brought up as being escorted out. It sounds like there's just, I don't say turmoil, but a shift going on within Sony right now going into the second half of the PS5. And right now, you've brought this up a couple times, Sean. What's happening in 2024 and beyond?
Helldivers
2.
Shut up.
We're in.
Jade Raymond's game.
We think. Fair games.
No, hold on. Somebody just gave me a good idea to just connect it directly to the where the fuck is it? No, I think Sony's in a very strange state right now, and they're supposedly, that's not it. Supposedly it's down there. Supposedly some of the stuff involved the games as a service initiative, and now they're having cold feet about it. Like, it just seems like a company that kind of is lacking a direction right now. And I've kind of said stuff like that throughout the course of the year. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a very firm direction. And I don't know how you fix that in a quick manner when, the industry didn't stop for a fucking pandemic. Like, they're not going to allow you to, get your shit together. Like, look at how much stuff they've just been sort of throwing out there. Like, you have the Portal, you have PSVR 2. Where's the PSVR 2 stuff? Like seriously, where is it? Why did I buy this? Like I bought it. I played Gran Turismo. I played Star Wars, which is already an available game. It's like, what are you focusing on right now? What is your main focus? And I don't know that anyone has that answer.
OJ's making a point right now. I can see it.
Mike's muted for some reason.
There you go.
I don't know why my mic's muted. My bad, guys. I think Sony stretched themselves a bit thin, which we talked about before. There's like too much kind of going on. All the virtual, the VR stuff, and then they got the Portal stuff. We've got so much stuff that's going on. I don't know. Somebody made a post the other day and they showed like, oh, look at all the games that they've had, like 9 games, like big games, like in like 3 years plus. And I'm like, is that supposed to be good now? Like, I thought we can get, more than that, but they're spending money on
this
VR.
year they had Spider-Man 2, Horizon Call of the Mountain, and
it's not even a big game.
And
That's not a
MLB the Show.
Yeah,
Those are just the games they
multi-plat.
produced. Yeah, those are just the games they produced this year.
And it's just like, where's the games at in terms of like the consistency, and I hate to bring it up again, but that's like, like when you get rid of stuff like Japan Studio, some of that variety just gets like locked out. Some of that creativity just gets locked out. And yeah, I get it. Maybe their games don't sell a bazillion units, but at the same time, it's still your first studio that you had, and they still could have helped out in terms of getting some games, getting some stuff for people to play. Like a Gravity Rush this year would have been incredible. Like something like that would have been dope. And you don't have to spend like what you spend on a God of War. I'm not trying to count their pockets that much. I get it costs money, but still, like that could have been really.
Too. If you can get games out in 3 years, then also still have your 6-year quadruple A titles, that seems like a good mix.
Japan Studio would have been great. I think they would have been great if they were given the opportunity. They would have been great in the PS5 era. Like I really think that they could have turned some things around, and I know that they got time to do that. But now with the rumors that are coming out, like, there were certain people that really wanted to just bury, their Japanese developers. It almost seems like it was a bit more malicious than what it turned out. Like, at first it was like, oh, it's just, the money's not there. But it seems like there were people that were legitimately saying, screw it, based off the rumors. So I don't know.
I can kind of believe that if you're Naughty Dog and you're used to the narrative-driven single-player, very controlled experience, and they go, okay, now make a Destiny. And then you feel like you did, and then Bungie reportedly tells you to take it back to the oven, and then they basically then throw it in the freezer. I mean, I could see how you might be a little frustrated with that. Just again, according to the reporting from earlier this week, with Connie Booth being out and all of that other information, at least that being corroborated. What was your were you saying something, OJ?
No, I was thinking.
Okay.
I was just thinking about Japan Studios and like if we had like a new Freedom Wars or something like that, like the in between, like that just would have been cool, man.
I mean, they don't even have to just dip into the IPs they make. I mean, a lot of this is about creating new stuff that maybe takes off and then just go forward from there, which Japan Studio is fantastic for.
Yeah, I'm thinking like Gravity Rush. I'm still thinking about how cool Gravity Rush would have been, like on PS5. Like how cool that would have been, like to make like a double-A Gravity Rush, or to make it whatever. Just make it a bit better than what you had on PS4. It doesn't have to be, So I don't know. That stuff gets me a little upset when I think about all this. What's going on? It's like, damn, that's a lot of. It seems like a lot of time, a lot of money being wasted on stuff that's not gonna happen, right? Or stuff that's so up in the air. Like all these.
What do you think about this, MVG?
I think there's two separate things going on here that we're maybe trying to bucket into one thing, and that is like Sony is in a bad place right now. First of all, Sony is not in a bad place right now. They just released one of the biggest games of the year, right? Which is selling a lot of units, right? This Spider-Man 2 is going to crush it, right? We know it's going to do very, very well. So I don't think there's any cause for alarm bells or any concern. With that said, I also feel like Insomniac is carrying the PlayStation 5.
Oh, they absolutely are.
In the same way as Rare was carrying the N64 for a while. I mean, there's definitely shades of, Insomniac is just going to basically be the studio of the generation for PS5, right? That we already know there's another game coming out. There's They're teasing other things, Spider-Man 3. So, Insomniac is just killing it right now.
You know what, real quick, MVG, before you go to the next, you know what's interesting? You bring up Insomniac. The thing that I noticed with them is we always we get a game from them, and then we're always talking about the next thing they're doing. Like, they have this kind of set up really well, whereas everything else at Sony, we're like, what are they doing? What are they doing? Like, obviously they're working on something, but I don't know. Insomniac has this cadence that's seems like weird at this time for Sony based on what we're getting from the other studios. Go on.
I think the Connie Booth thing, it's very, very hard to actually comment on. Number one, let's be real. No one knew who Connie Booth was on Monday until
I was a big Connie Booth fan.
No, you weren't. You had no idea who Connie Booth was, right?
Camera comes on, he's got the t-shirt.
And all of a sudden we're talking about Connie Booth like everyone knows who she is. Like she was an industry icon, but didn't really have a public presence, right? Just kind of sat in the background, producing, making all these moves on games, and has had a long career at Sony.
Yep.
So it's very hard to comment as to why things are happening the way they are without really knowing what's going on. Yeah, we can sit here and speculate. I personally feel like Sony is. I feel like there's obviously a struggle, right, with maybe some of the direction that some of the higher ups want to take the company. Some of their the way that they kind of feel like Sony will be successful going forward in the next 10 years is based on what they think is going to be the right thing. But other than that, I can't really sit here and tell you, number one, why Connie Booth was fired, just in the same way as Sean Layden, which, by the way, Sean Layden was 5 years ago. I don't know why we're still talking about him like it was yesterday.
It's been a long time. It came up because people are still wondering what happened with, like, everyone's kind of just like, what happened there? Like, we've never got any kind of story. And in the internet age where data flies everywhere, you feel like someone would have said something.
And you probably will never know. We'll probably never know why Connie Booth was fired, right, from the company. First of all, was it confirmed that she was actually fired from the company? Do we know that?
David Jaffe is saying multiple people told him she was fired, and that people who were, I guess, underneath of her are also gone. But he gave a reason as to why, and he seemed to think that it had to do with The Last of Us being shelved and not in the state they need it to, and her not necessarily lining up with the games as a service model they're pushing right now.
I mean, that could well be the case, but you also have to remember she's been at the company for like, what, 20 something years, right?
34 years,
like since the beginning. So, people just don't get fired that have literally been at the company for that long, even on a couple of bad decisions that potentially have been made. So I think we don't really know what's happening here. We can speculate. We can make something that sounds reasonable, but just in the same way as we don't know what the real story of Jim Ryan is. I think he just retired because he's done. He doesn't really.
I think you're right about that.
I don't think he wants. Yeah. He's done. I don't think he wants to oversee another console generation. I don't blame him. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever really know what the real story is. I think the best way to make a informed decision is just to keep your eye on Sony for the next 12 months, because I think you're right. Like 2024 is going to be a big year for Sony, whether that is their absence of games, which is going to be very, very telling, or they basically are just lining up some more releases for next year. And Spider-Man 2 will carry them through this year, which it absolutely will, because like I said, it's selling a lot, and it's a very good game. So
I think you can make a case that Sony is still riding like high right now off of the PS4 momentum, even, and the brand loyalty they built up that generation with the digital libraries really taking over. And that's the thing I'm curious about, MG, as you mentioned, because we're about to go into the second half of these consoles live, if we believe they are basically going to be succeeded in 2028. We're getting there. So now is about the time when Sony would say, okay, here's the roadmap for the next 3 to 4 years. Yes, they announce games that early. We know it. All these companies do, but that's kind of the thing. Insomniac, we mentioned, has been doing that pretty consistently for this generation. It's like, okay, here's Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank's coming. Okay, Ratchet Clank's here. Spider-Man's coming. Okay, now Wolverine's coming. And apparently they're working on a multiplayer game as well. So Insomniac's just rolling. But like, I don't know what Naughty Dog's doing right now. I don't know what Sony Santa Monica's doing right now. I don't know what Sucker Punch is doing right now. I don't know what Team Asobi's doing right now. And like the list kind of goes on from there. That's to me where it lines up for some kind of big show at the beginning of 2024, a showcase to finally say, okay, here's what we're doing. Here's our third-party partnerships. Here's our first-party stuff. You should be good for 2 big releases over the next 4 years.
I think it's important to remember that these other studios, the Naughty Dogs and the bigger studios, you know, we already know that games take 5 to 6 years to make. So, you know, just because Insomniac is like spitting out games every year or every 2 years, we kind of talked about this, I think, a couple of weeks ago, where I said that, you know, a game like Spider-Man 2, yeah, it's a smaller game. It's, you know, it's only 15 hours or something, and there was some discussion whether it should be more. I think you can't have it both ways. If you want Insomniac to kind of produce a game every year or every 2 years, then that's what you should expect from them. You should expect a smaller, you know, single player experience that you can beat in 15 hours. But these bigger games, these more ambitious titles, the Last of Us games, these kind of more cinematic quality style games that have, you know, 30 hours of gameplay and all these things thrown into the mix as well. These games are going to take a long, long time. So, like I said, just because, you know, Sony is quiet right now, or, you know, we're not really sure what their moves are, doesn't mean they won't hit us with some announcements. But like I said, 2024 is probably going to be their biggest year for Sony for a long, long time, to be honest. Like, I think next year will definitely be very telling to see what they have for us or what they don't have for us.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought process too. Here's the interesting thing. I've been looking at 2023, and I kind of think there's a game missing. That's been my thought. I feel like there was a game that was supposed to come out this year and it didn't. And I think that might be why it. Well, I kind of wonder if that Last of Us multiplayer was supposed to come out this year.
You saying that there was a game for this year that they kind of bumped out or has gone missing? I mean,
I feel like there is, yeah.
There's all sorts of rumors, right? Like, what about, you know, the next Ghost of Tsushima game or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it could be anything. I do agree with you, though. I do feel like maybe there was something more this year that they were hoping to get, but they weren't in a spot to, you know, to obviously announce it. Or maybe they didn't have to announce it because it was never revealed in the first place. So I don't know. But I do think next year they'll have, hopefully they'll have some bigger announcements.
Yeah. Well, like Deviation, I don't know what happened there, but funding definitely got cut because they laid off half their studio, and there was a project with Sony, and I assume maybe Bungie was like, I don't know about this one. And then the same thing with Last of Us. We watched Sega cancel Hyenas at the finish line. Like it and apparently news came out.
A really good game too. Everyone was really looking forward to Hyenas.
You know, news came out that's apparently one of the most expensive games Sega's made was Hyenas.
I mean, fuck. Of course it was.
It didn't come out.
It's Hyenas, dude.
People played the game like it was in beta. Like it's so weird. There's like, nah, cancel this. It's not happening.
I was trying to get in on the beta, but there were so many people that were like, bro, it's Hyenas. I do want to say one thing really quick that's completely off topic. Anthony Thacker, whatever his name was, said, is there a way to connect the wood grain handheld to your computer? And there actually was. I wasn't thinking because it was a USB-C to USB power connector, so I wasn't thinking of using that. And when I did that, I can now access it. So I'm adding some more games as we speak right now to test them out.
Oh, okay.
Good job.
Keep us posted. That's kind of where I am right now with Sony. They've done well. They've sold 40 some odd million units of a $500 box, and at this point, they're probably the only company that can do it at that clip now. So what do they have for the next 5 years? So I have no problem at this point Sony announcing something that's not out for 3 years just to show that they have that single player narrative driven experience still at their forefront, rather than here's Marathon, here's Concord, here's Fair Games. So need some confidence in there.
What about Rebirth? We're not counting Rebirth as a game, or Final Fantasy?
And it's Square. I mean, technically they're going around, and yeah, I guess that is exclusive. Yeah. It's that strategy of doing the timed exclusivity stuff on these games. I mean, it works, obviously.
It's not really timed exclusivity when it doesn't come out on anything else, though.
I mean, Final Fantasy 16 is going to be on PC soon.
Maybe PC.
7 remake is on PC now. I assume Rebirth will be on PC a year later or something. But
Maybe
technically, you're right. They lock it down. So
Lock down.
Yeah,
I was thinking more Sony's first party stuff. Go Doja.
I mean, Square Enix. I mean, I guess, but it just seems like more like Square Enix kind of doing the work. But I know that with Final Fantasy 16, Sony did help develop the game. So I mean, there is that.
We also have Death Stranding 2 coming up. I think that's next year. I would be surprised if that's not a 2024 game. So I'm looking forward to the next. You don't think so? When do you think it's coming out? Do you think it's 2025?
Thank you.
Maybe. Yeah, I think 2025, John.
Okay. I
Clip
wasn't
it.
sure if they're going to get that out as a holiday 2024 release. Although when did when did Death Stranding 1 come out? Was that 2019 or 2020?
2019.
19.
5 years. They can get another
Death Stranding drops and a pandemic hits. Coincidence? I think not.
Well, Death Stranding 2 is you had to rewrite it apparently. So question is, should we have connected it at all?
Maybe this one will be sensical.
Oh gosh, no, of course it won't be.
Yeah.
It'll be a giant game of Tetris. It'll be great.
Maybe you'll play this.
You have
one,
to
Sean.
pee on the blocks. I bet, John, I played for like 15 plus hours of the fucking game.
Oh, you're almost halfway done.
Yeah, that's it. I'm good. See you later.
No more. He's out. Well, hey, you know what? You gave it a shot. I'll give you that. You gave it a fair shot then.
I gave it a very fair shot.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. Let me go over to some of the super chats here. This is from CJ. It says thoughts on Xbox blocking third-party controllers.
Is that true?
I don't know. I just read it here on YouTube.
Block them all.
Thoughts on Xbox blocking third-party? I have not heard that. So we'll look into that right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Like, I'm thinking about like
Mad Cats,
FGC fighting game people. They got all sorts of adapters and all sorts of arcade sticks. Need to check into that.
Xbox. Okay, here Xbox will start banning unofficial third-party controllers in November. Interesting.
Time.
Look into that.
Let's be real. It needed to be done.
Chris says, in my opinion, I still think The Best Is Yet to Come is one of the best songs from a video game ever. It's an absolute banger. Thanks again for all you guys do.
I'm not going to argue with that. I think it's a very good song.
Hulk Hogan says, shout out to Evan, MVG, RGT, and John.
See, you thought that was me. It's not me. I wouldn't give you money. Fuck you. I would never give you money.
Thanks, Sean.
It wasn't me.
100% Sean.
Okay. Oak City says, Access Keepers. Hi, hope you don't hate me for this. X Era 404. The number of messages here says, I also emulate, but I teared up about Matthew Perry, then realized I tear up about a Watt every time I think about him. The Breath of the Wild got Easter egg right this time. The heart of that man and that company, amazing. Who has that? Then Shadow says, back then Sony made commercial dev tools and discs to the public like the PS1 and make small indie games and be part in the indie scene in some way.
Talking about the Net Your Rose.
There it is. There it is. X Era says, thanks for remembering me, Sean. That's why we love you. Jono, what's up, son?
No problem.
X Era then also says, you guys watch WAN show. I wish they leave gaming to Spawncast, MVG, Metal Warriors remake. John knows me now. Okay.
Does he?
Yep. I'm on all of that.
You should have dinner with him.
Lucio says, Sony not making more real exclusives is a down for me. Why have a PS5 instead of PC and wait a couple of months for release? I sold it a couple of months ago, just playing on my deck and Switch. Jorge says, it's so weird that I'm more concerned about Sony's output than Nintendo's when Nintendo's going into 2024 with a potential new console, as Nintendo's at like the twilight years of the Switch and they're still dropping games all over the place.
It's Twilight Zone.
Samuel says, RGT, can we get a Kong update? Game of the Year sleeper.
Fuck that game.
How much
Looks
time do you
pretty
actually put
good.
in that thing? Yeah. How much time do you actually put into that?
Long, too long. Anything above 5 minutes is a waste of your like the oh god, it's so
wow.
bad. It's so
Okay.
stupid.
Why did you have to play that anyway? Was it just a light goal in a video?
Yeah. Which I mean, I'm not gonna complain about that, but yeah, it was pretty shitty.
Nintendo. Okay, this is the esports stuff. I got Evan and OJ queued up, I'm sure, for this one. But Nintendo posted new tournament guidelines. They had some content guidelines too, but the tournament ones definitely caught a lot of backlash, a lot of interest online around this stuff, where Nintendo definitely elaborated a lot more on what you have to do, I guess, to get a license for tournaments. And this included a number of people who could participate, apparently food and drink sales, different controllers you're allowed to use or not allowed to use. It was very, we'll say, heavy-handed, and people were not thrilled about this. As someone who's not really into the competitive scene, whether it's Smash or Mario Kart or Splatoon, I'm unaware of how these things were run before. So I will let OJ explain if these rules are bad. All I ever see with Smash is clips of someone getting a crab thrown on them on Twitter and things like that. So
It's the Wild
Yeah.
West
it's like
out there.
there's a party going on over there. So
Yeah, so throughout the years of Smash, just to make a long story short, there's obviously been a lot of contention between the community and Nintendo. There's been people that have been outstanding and been awesome. Then there's been a lot of people who have been not so awesome in running their tournaments, how they're doing things, scamming, not scamming, blah, 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 whatever the case is. So essentially, we know that all the stuff that happened, the whole situation that happened a few years ago, there's a lot of top players that were outed for this and that at these tournaments with children or minors there. So essentially what this does is that this brings together a uniform guidelines for not for profit, right? So just random tournament you want to stream and get entries. It brings together a standard for that. And if you want to do a bigger tournament outside of all the guidelines, you get a license for it. Now, how do you get a license for it? Well, you ask them for it. Now, we've already seen some major Japanese tournaments already ask for a license and they got one quickly. So it seems like that process isn't going to be too bad if you're running a major tournament. But a lot of the stuff that's in there is, I watched the lawyer talk about it because I wasn't reading all that shit. So I watched the lawyer talk about it and he broke down every single thing. And essentially what it does, like I said, it brings it to a standard to where everybody kind of knows the rules. So it doesn't seem like if there is an issue, it doesn't seem like Nintendo's randomly lashing out at one tournament and then not the other, because there's been so many problems, like, but sometimes people saying charity tournament and they're not actually giving all the money to charity, or sometimes they're saying, hey, we're going to do this, and they end up charging people way too money and then they end up running off with their money. I mean, there's been issues all over the place. So everybody has rules. I think it's a little bit heavy handed, and a lot of the stuff, I agree with that. There's a lot of stuff in there that I'm just kind of like, whoa, seems a bit much. But essentially it makes it a standard, so therefore everybody follows these rules, and hopefully it can bring in the advertisers for the major tournaments, because you know that you're following a set guideline of rules. I think Capcom and other companies have somewhat similar rules, maybe not as heavy-handed on the non-for-profit ones, but very similar when it comes to for the big tournaments. So essentially that's what's there. But the problem is that where there's issues is that it doesn't allow like modified software, right, or hardware. So Slippy, right, that is a online, rollback netcode built for Super Smash Bros. Melee. Nintendo does not offer Super Smash Bros. Melee for online play or anything. So Hungrybox runs a big tournament called Coinbox, and it has Melee there. And obviously it makes them a lot of money. And other people run tournaments with Slippy as well. So that's where there's some contention, where people are getting kind of crazy or getting angry about, or just simply putting all these restrictions on people running these tournaments in terms of what they can do. The food and drink stuff, I don't have to go too much further, but there's been issues with alcohol and minors. Okay.
Okay. Gotcha.
So at certain,
OJ, is this is a lot of this in response to Nintendo just being concerned about the stuff that goes on at these tournaments? Because sometimes I'll see stuff trend on Twitter and it sounds crazy, and then it somehow ends up being linked to a Smash Brothers tournament. I don't know how, but it always comes back to Smash somehow.
Yeah, it's between that, and then a little bit ago there was a tournament. There was a company called Panda Global, and they were in the scene for a long time. They had a bunch of people that were in the scene, And essentially, they got with Nintendo to make like a big licensed circuit, and there was a bunch of infighting with other people that run tournaments and everything. But essentially, the community turned on Panda and essentially just shut them down. Just said, "We're not going to support you. We're not going to go to your tournaments. We're not going to do this," even though they knew that they have a circuit with Nintendo. That right there, I think, probably was like the final straw for them. Just because they did a circuit with Nintendo, they were going to have one, and the community said, "Screw that, we're not." And it was based off of somewhat inaccurate lies in terms of what happened. Like a lot of people that were very innocent in that lost their job, lost their sponsorships. Like the community can be ruthless at times if they feel there's even the slightest bit of problems, right? So I think that was probably Nintendo's last straw. Like, you're not going to run our game, like you can't shut down and turn down a whole company that we just decided to run a circuit with. We're not going to allow you guys to do this. So we're just going to come heavy-handed with this. So I personally hope that what this does is that it makes a standard to where people can follow it, and then it can get bigger sponsors, because sponsors want to see that it's officially licensed.
Right.
So this can help with sponsors in the future, and it can keep people on their best behavior at these tournaments, now that there are quite a number of guidelines. Like I said, a little heavy-handed, don't agree with all of it, but I'm just hoping that it keeps, obviously, minors safe, and it can get more sponsors attracted, because they are getting major licenses, and it can be like official with rule sets and things like that. So yeah, that's what I know. At least that's my opinion.
Okay. Evan, is any of this stuff normal, do you know, for the tournament scene?
I mean, just generally in tournament, I mean, this is just Nintendo hating kind of a lot of their tournament scenes, because that is reflective on them. When their game's behind people being absolute assholes or idiots, it just makes it look bad. So, I mean, it's just them tightening the chain, because I mean, I think tournament rules were worse for like League of Legends and stuff. Like, those guys were super strict on rules.
Oh, okay.
Very strict. Even some of the major streamers, like, they would just completely kick them out of that whole scene for even saying something wrong on a stream once. Like, I mean, it's companies wanting to protect their brand. That's all it is.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, I don't really know much about it, but I do know what's happened with the Smash community over the years. And I think at the end of the day, Nintendo's just trying to cover their own ass on this, you know, which and they should absolutely do that.
So what are these companies do tournaments for? Mostly for exposure of like a brand or a game or anything. They're building a community.
What, like the company's
Is that
running?
the idea?
The company's running the tournaments?
Yeah, just try to get excitement around these titles. Because at that point, I feel like Nintendo just weighs the options as like, they don't really need this.
Yeah, there's
yeah,
well, there's ways of making money off of it, but it's so much work.
Yeah,
it's so much work.
I feel like Nintendo just doesn't want to deal with it.
No, they do not.
Most of the people like if you're talking grassroots, most of the tournaments make almost no money. They either break even or they make almost no money. Most of them just do it just because they love Super Smash Brothers. They like the aspect, like the whole community surrounding it, like that. That's the reason why it's done. Even like the biggest tournaments, like Ludwig, he's big guy on YouTube, multimillionaire. Like, his tournaments don't make any money. He ends up just donating essentially money for the community, because that's the community he that made him all of his money. So I mean, that's essentially most people don't make anything. I mean, some do, maybe Genesis. There's certain big tournaments that do, but most of them just do it because they love the game.
That said, I don't think Nintendo's going to come in and overturn tables in like a small tournament that you hold in like your local high school or something. I don't think that's going to happen. But...
It's more for like the televised stuff or the stream stuff is my thing. Yeah. Because if that goes wrong on stream, they will.
If it's just your own personal tournament that you're running, it's irrelevant. It's if you're taking like entry fees, right? Because they specifically mention on there, you can't charge this much. Like, you can't charge people $100 to get into your tournament. Like, if it's like a small tournament, no, it's got to be like $20. Like, so they're putting those type of restrictions on there. So if it's not a for-profit or big tournament, it's got to be small scale. It's going to be like only 200 people or stuff like that, right? If you want it to be bigger, you need to get a license for it, because then if it's bigger, then we need to see what you're doing. Where's the money going? So things like that. So yeah, it's obviously covering their butt, but at the same time, like I said, a little bit heavy-handed with some of the stuff. It's going to be interesting to see if they can even enforce all of this, though. like enforcing all of this, especially for the smaller tournaments. I mean, that's probably not going to be feasible.
I wanted to bring this up because it was definitely something that was kind of at a left field. It has to do with Microsoft in Brazil where they've raised the Xbox Series S price to roughly $717 after conversion for currency in Brazil. And it's now the same price as the PS5 digital. So to my understanding, the systems, for example, are more expensive in Brazil because of the fees and taxes and other things placed on it for imports. Like they're significantly higher. The PS4 went through this actually too, but it's very weird because the Series S is as much as the PS5 all digital now, and Microsoft really hasn't commented on it other than just say, yeah, we've raised it to that amount. So it got a reaction online because it sounds ridiculous, an Xbox Series S for over $700 basically. But I don't know what happened there, why it's the same price now as the PS5 digital, but figured I'd bring it up since it was something that closed out the week and was a lot of conversation. And were you had a comment on that, OJ?
No, I'm stupid.
Okay. And
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to bring up here is Capcom, because they have reiterated that they are indeed going to release a game in the next 5 months that is going to be selling millions and millions of copies. So this game apparently is still slated for at the latest March 31st, 2024, the end of this fiscal year. It has not been announced yet. This game.
Dragon's Dogma 2?
We don't know. They said it's not announced yet. It's unannounced still. And I think they were kind of pressed on this to see if it was like the Ubisoft situation where they just pushed, we think Star Wars Outlaws, like, it's coming out next year now. Don't worry about it. Yeah, Capcom was like, no, it's still coming. It's still happening.
Monster Hunter.
So whatever it is.
I would think it's Monster Hunter.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, is it's Monster Hunter. It just seems weird because, okay, so this game is getting revealed and then it's immediately going to come out 2 or 3 months later.
What if they just drop Resident Evil 9 on us? No way.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
They could drop Mega Man X9. That's a major title.
That's not a
six copies.
Yeah, 6 copies. Hey, Mega Man 11 did fine. Did well enough. Sold like, what, 1.5 million copies?
Yeah.
Almost there. What was the exact quote they had on this thing? No, it just says major
Monster.
Unannounced. It'll sell millions.
It's got to be Monster Hunter. It just does. It just needs to be Monster Hunter.
So Monster Hunter has its 20th anniversary, right? That's next year, I think. There should be a countdown for this thing. I think it's next March, actually, is the anniversary for it. 20 years, because it came out back on the PS2. And that lines up exactly with when they said they'd release it by, or this title by, before the end of the fiscal year. I kind of wonder if they're lining this up for an announcement at the Game Awards and legitimately a March release. That would then give them basically all of December, January, February, and then maybe 3 weeks in March. Maybe it's like one of the last weeks of March that it comes out. That would kind of make sense. Monster Hunter feels like it doesn't need that kind of a run up to sell. Like they show it. Most of the people who like Monster Hunter are there already. They're probably getting the pre-order in before Capcom's done showing the whole thing. It's really already happened.
So what kind of game fits? Because even Monster Hunter. I mean, even Resident Evil 9 doesn't need, like, none of these big games need that type of announcement. So maybe it's a Devil May Cry 6 or something. Like, it's very hard. It's very hard to kind of put your finger on.
Because Capcom has no problem releasing a game in the first quarter. They do it all the time. They drop a game in February and it's like, here you go.
I would be down for a new Devil May Cry. The last one was 2019. So it's been a bit.
It has been a minute.
Jesse in chat said Deep Down. I'd be into that. That'd be good.
Oh gosh. It has, because that came out March 2019. So it will be 5 years then from the last Devil May Cry.
I am down for a new Devil May Cry. Absolutely.
Devil May Cry 5 did pretty well too.
Yeah. And I got a Game Pass bag.
Good game.
Yeah. Hey. Man, I don't know. I'm kind of torn because they could do DMC and get away with it. Man. Trying to think of what else. I mean, for millions of copies, it would be one of those bigger titles. It wouldn't be X9, even though I'd like it to be. I still feel like I'm leaning towards the anniversary lines up too well. It does,
And
although that would line up for an announcement. But
when they say millions, I mean technically that's 2 million.
it could be 2 million. Like that would make sense. It's like, hey, here's Mega Man X9. We're shooting for 2 million here.
No,
you make the move. Whatever it is, I think it's going to be at the Game Awards. That would make sense. That's the next big event that would line up for an announcement and then release 3 months later. Maybe Monster Hunter maybe it's like the closeout for the Game Awards. Brand new Monster Hunter game. DMC could open even if they want to do that. I don't think Resident Evil seems like something they would want to market for like almost a year even.
I agree. I mean, you don't want to just say, oh, we got a big game coming out next year. It's going to sell millions. And it's Resident Evil 9. It doesn't need that type of lead up.
Yeah, Monster Hunter makes sense. Maybe they do the thing where they announce it and then it's out in 2 months and they just kind of catch some serious momentum from holidays, everyone getting their PS5s or Xboxes or I mean, maybe, I don't know if it'll be on the Switch. If it's the next Monster Hunter World, they might push that to the next system from Nintendo even then. But, or maybe they just keep it separate, like how they kind of do this thing where they have one Monster Hunter that's kind of on Nintendo first, and the other one's on like PlayStation, Xbox first, and they just kind of switch off. Yeah, that's all. I was looking at chat to see what else people are coming. And Onimusha, I don't know if they do a new one.
No.
What about Beautiful Joe 1 and 2?
Hey, I'm here for that.
I would love a remaster of Beautiful Joe 1 and 2, or just like a compilation of all the Beautiful Joe games. Put them all on. Oh, that'd be cool.
Oh, Okami 2. There you go. Dino Crisis.
No.
Here's the new Dino Crisis.
Imagine
and then it's the expansion for Exoprimal.
Dude, I'm telling you, Dino Crisis 2, how that game plays, like if you like make a new one and that type of stuff, like that could work in today's day, man. I'm telling you, it could.
If they did Dino Crisis 2 and RE2 remake, RE4 remake style, I'd be on board with it.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
That would be really good.
So is that a Marvel vs. Capcom reboot?
They still don't have the license, right?
The licensing for that would be nuts.
Oh, that's got to be crazy. Hey, Disney's getting more and more open to a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, but not that stuff.
Well,
we're gonna get the C team out of them. It'll be bad.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm going Monster Hunter. Game Awards, Monster Hunter announcement out in 3 months. Give us 10 million. Give us money for 10 million copies.
I'm gonna say it's DMC 6.
Okay, DMC 6. All right.
I'll say Monster Hunter because that's a safe bet.
Okay. Good stuff. Go with that. Let me go over to. I'll have to check Streamlabs as well. Some of the super chats here.
Yeah, you will.
Sean, are you gonna do your after show tonight?
Yeah, I'll do it for a little bit.
Okay.
I got Simpsons Hit and Run PS2 running at 60. I had to tinker with a few settings, and I'm trying Star Fox Adventures right now.
Oh,
and we are 60.
What handheld is that?
This is the Ambernick RG405V. I just made a video on it. Yeah, I'm rock solid 60 on Star Fox Adventures. So, I mean, you might have to tinker with some stuff and maybe some like extremely high end, PS2 stuff might give you some troubles like God of War 2. But I think a vast majority of the library will run fine PS2 wise, and GameCube seems to be running great.
Your video that you did on it in the description has a link to that exact model.
Yeah. Keep Retro sends it to me to check out.
Okay, yeah. So I would just direct people to your video if you have the exact link to that one, because if it's on like Amazon and stuff, I notice sometimes you'll see some questionable lookalike ones float in there. So that's even telling people to search the model numbers, kind of like,
Yeah, you can see it running.
Oh, look at that! It is. Wow, it's still weird to see GameCube games in like handheld form like that, just randomly emulated.
Well, that's cool. Awesome. Yeah, it does PSP, 3DS. I need to get Samus Returns and try that out because that's a game I love.
John O in the chat here saying, I guess I'll give you a little money since Sean wouldn't, and that was the first thing I heard popping in before I head out for the Halloween festivities. Have a great night, y'all. Yeah, John O, you got to come out to, like I said, TMG next year because Sean's coming. He's on the way.
Really?
He'll be there. He'll be there. So you got to come out, Jono, again.
At least until last minute when he decides not to. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But shout out to Jono. Shout out to Jono, executive producer over there. There's Oak City Gamers. No message. Then Lucio says, "Can we get RGT to send a kiss to the?"
Oh yeah,
no message here.
He's been yelling at me for abandoning him.
It's been a ordeal.
How could you, Sean?
I know, I'm a piece of shit human.
You'll have to go through a table at too many games. That's what you'll have to do.
No, fuck yeah. I'll just
get you off the top rope.
I'll just find a table and jump through it. I don't fucking care.
In a Spider-Man onesie. Come on.
But they had Grove Street there, putting people through tables. Lucio says, "Can we get RGT to send a kiss to the viewers?"
You're giving him money to ask me that? You better give me some money.
On the after
pay
show.
me my money.
After show, he's full screen in the after show most times.
Yeah, because all these fuckers disappear and turn off the camera.
I actually have to do some recording on your after show, so I'll need my camera here and there as I go.
It's fine.
Shadow says, TLDR, Sony should release modern dev tools like the Yozori again. What, MVG, can you pronounce it for him? They said
Yorose. Say it with me, John. Yorose.
Yorose. Thank you. Again, they said Yozoree.
That's incorrect.
Sorry. Again, to shake out the indie scene for home devs. Microsoft's huge merger should have Sony's game department shaking in its boots. Jorge says, for better or worse, Nintendo has to protect all the IPs that are in Smash, especially Square, Capcom, and Konami IPs. And then Oak City Gamers again dropped one here with no message, but apparently they're sending stuff to Sean. There you go. And then Mighty Ryan says, anyone know where I can find Dreamcast Guy?
He's at a party somewhere.
Max is at a Halloween party. I believe he posted a picture of his costume on Twitter.
He looks... Never mind.
What were you going to say, Sean? He looks slim.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Yeah. Slim and trim.
There you go. There you go. Let me go over here. I'm going to check Streamlabs. I don't want to miss any messages that may have come over there just to make sure. And also want to bring up, here we go. Okay. This was from Joshua Butts a little while ago, so make sure I did catch this one. It feels like Sony made, shout out Joshua Butts. Feels like Sony made the PS5 physically bigger than needed, knowing they would release a significantly smaller Slim model a few years later, prompting people to buy the Slim to replace the original just so they could have the better size console. And I think that's all of those messages there.
Yeah, where is Jose tonight?
Oh, I had mentioned this at the start. Yeah. So the film that you guys were talking about in your after show that she made a pretty good pitch for and even got you to donate. They're filming that tonight. They're filming stuff for it. But she's going to be, I think, going on location, doing some other things for the podcast here pretty soon. Okay. So it'll be interesting to see how all that turns out. But yeah, she said she'll be back next week. You guys did film Game and Talk, though. That is up on the Spawncast network, so people can check that out. Got it there in audio form or in somewhat video form. And you guys did the bonus questions as well.
Yep.
So there's a lot of stuff happening over there. Chase says there's been rumors that the next Monster Hunter might be an MMO or MMO light. What are your guys' thoughts? Also, you dudes rock. I mean, Monster Hunter's always kind of been, especially recently, an MMO light, sort of.
It's been as MMO as like Warframe's been for years. So
Sure. But like if they go full on MMO where you just walk into a city and there's like 100 people in there, like go Phantasy Star or World of Warcraft or something.
That's just Hub City, though. You can easily do that.
That would be interesting if they went more connected for online, because it has been a while since Monster Hunter World came out, which is weird to think because it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but I think it has been. It's that might be the next step, is to go all in on the multiplayer side and just say, hey, it's just a continuous open world with people running all over the place in it. So have fun. And then also here's this massive monster that takes 100 people to take down, like some big raid. Like that could be next level stuff. So maybe that's what we see for Monster Hunter. So I like the idea of that. Let me go around here as we finish up. Let's start with MVG. where can everyone find you?
Thanks for having me on. You can find me on YouTube at Modern Vintage Gamer. Video out on Monday. Nate the Hate next week. Thanks for having me.
What's happening next week?
Recording.
I always ask. When there's a Nate the Hate podcast, usually means something's happening or something has happened and we don't know about it yet.
We have a new episode in the works.
Oh, okay. Let me go over here to OJ. Where can I find you?
Found me right here on YouTube. Player Essence had a couple cool videos that came out. Did a big top 25 RPGs in addition to my top 10 or 10 out of 10 ones. So if you're into RPG content or Nintendo content, check out the channel. Got some big videos going up next week as well. So thank you guys for your support. Also live stream pretty much daily, so you can come through to the live streams as well, where we sit there and talk about stuff and have fun. So thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
About Evan.
You can find me over on Kimrick's Project if you're into tabletop games and stuff. We've been having some fun over there. Nothing really major coming up. I'm trying to get into a bunch of different things to start adding to the channel, so that should be fun.
Okay. And then Sean.
YouTube.com/dream. I choked on my own spit. Cast guy. Come over to the second show. Oh, gamers, come over to the second show. Come over to the second show. We'll have a chat.
Oh no. Okay. Well, that's the Spawncast for tonight. Thanks everyone for joining in. And this week coming up, we still got other games coming out. I'll get to Alan Wake 2 for at least a little bit. Then we got RoboCop hitting. We got Star Ocean stuff happening all over the place. So exciting stuff. We'll be back next Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm trying to figure out when Nate is going to rejoin us, but he's on deck soon. So I think Nate's going to be re-entering the Spawncast, and we're going to work on the call-in stuff as well. So we'll pick people who want to come in from the Spawncast network, the Patreon. You know, we'll bring people in from there. So make sure you go check that out. It's linked down below, spawncastnetwork.com, and we'll get some people in from the audience for parts of the conversation, and we'll see you guys then.